All right, it is. We wanted to bookend the end of the international window, end of a cluster of games, obviously for the Republic of Ireland, and to do just that, there's only one man we could ask on board. Kevin Kilbane, good morning to you.
Good morning, Adrian. How are you doing?
Good. How are you going?
Everything's great. Everything's really good, actually. Yeah.
What's the schedule of classic games for the weekend?
I've got a bit of MLS action this week. I've actually done the World Cup playoffs this week, which was quite interesting watching the games. I did Peru against Australia on Monday and
what a game.
Costa Rica against New Zealand. Well, they weren't classics, as you maybe can well imagine, with the lack of goals in the game, but they were interesting to do anyway. They were interesting games to do, and I'm looking at it genuinely in comparison to where Ireland are in the world rankings. Costa Rica are ranked 31 in the world, I think. Peru ranked 22. Judging from what I've seen in the last couple of games, especially, we're well beyond those teams. And the rankings are always, you always look at the rankings sometimes and think, how are some sides in certain positions? But some of the teams that you see, particularly when I've watched a lot of the CONCACAF region here, Mexico are up around the top 10, so the US. And from what I've seen, I don't see any reason why we can't get anywhere near those teams.
Well, it depends on, you mentioned like benchmarking off the last two games. I'm with you. Yeah. Obviously, the first two games not so great. So your overall view then on like whether what we've seen now over the last four games collectively is the growing pains almost of a team who are on the up and an upward curve of improving football that will hopefully lead to improving results, or are they more? Or are the first two games particularly more of a cause for concern for you?
Probably a bit of both. Are we any clearer over the last four games? I think the last two games has given us real optimism again. Was it Lithuania we played at the end of the last window, and we finished that with thinking, right, here we go again. Troy Parrott scored that late goal. And then looking across the course of the last 6 or 7 prior to that, we felt as though that the team was moving forward. I certainly felt that anyway. I know I've not really been on with you guys talking around then. It's been difficult really to get on to fit it in time-wise. But
can't get you.
Well, I don't know about that. No, you just don't pay enough. But anyway, but no, genuinely, I think it has been very good, hasn't it? I think we all accepted that, and we will look forward to this Armenia game. And honestly, I was disappointed, of course, like many was disappointed, but I kind of understood. I was actually quite impressed with the first 20 minutes. The first half maybe petered out a little bit from 20, 25 minutes onwards, but the way that we started the game, I felt that we got in behind Armenia. I felt that Josh Colm was on the ball early. He was trying to pass forward, and we would play on the front foot. I remember a pass early on from Nathan Collins, a longer ball. Ogbena's good movement. Ogbeni played very well for the first 25 minutes of that game, and I felt there was, there's something to play on it. It was just the second half, and realistically, when you look at it, end of season like it was, the lads trying to get go again, the heat. There's a lot of extenuating circumstances, wasn't there, why that game probably turned out the way that it did. Disappointing nonetheless, really disappointing second half. We just didn't get going. The shape of the team looked wrong. I think distances all over the pitch looked quite poor. And the most disappointing thing out of everything was the Ukraine game, because you look for a response. We're coming back home. We've had that 90 minutes under our belt. There was a lot of players and personnel that have played the game. Yes, travel, don't get me wrong, takes it out of players. Maybe there could have been 1 or 2 more changes in that game. In the Ukraine game. I think Stephen Kenny might look at that himself and maybe feel as though that he could have made 1 or 2 more changes. But they were flat and there was no tempo in the game. There was nothing really for me to look back on that game. I know you were there with your son, Adrian, weren't you at the game? But there was nothing in that game where I felt, I don't know, we had more shots. I think we had more shots at goal, certainly at goal, whether they're on target or not, than we had across the Scotland game. But there was no, I don't think that the distances was right. The shape looked off. The players didn't look like they were prepared to make a tackle. We were too easily played through. At home, after a performance like Armenia, I expected a response, and I don't think we got that. But clearly, in the Scotland game, I think we saw the character. I think we saw maybe close to what Stephen Kenny will be looking at towards his strongest 11 in that game, and then we took that into the second Ukraine game, and I was really pleased.
Kevin, it's been a roller coaster of less than a fortnight. You go back to lunchtime on the Saturday Irish time, just before the Armenia match, and I can't remember a more positive feeling towards Stephen Kenny's team. Then you fast forward to after the first Ukraine game, and it was I was saying during the week, Kev, like I'd say 99% of the comments coming in to OTB AM on that Wednesday morning was Kenny's got to go. He's got to go.
Yeah.
Then the next two games, we're back to here. We're back to, oh, it's brilliant. It's really positive. Where do you stand on the Stephen Kenny reign after a tumultuous fortnight?
No, I think you know what I think is, you know what, Colm, as ex-players, I honestly think there's maybe a more of an obligation for us to be a little bit more supportive of the team. I do feel that, and certainly of the manager as well. You know, we're all going to have an opinion about who's playing well and who should be in the team and things like that. But ultimately, when the team starts, we have to be supportive. And that was a disappointing thing for me watching the Ukraine game. And even, you know, sometimes, you know, I can be quite vocal, especially if I've had a beer on Twitter at times, which maybe I should shut my mouth. But when you're watching games at times, you kind of get into the swing of it, don't you? You throw something out there, and when you're disappointed watching the team. But I think in answer to your question, Colm, across his reign, I think there has been steady improvement. We have to say that there has been. I think he was given the extension to his contract because of that. I think we accepted there was more to come from these players. We maybe get into one or two individuals in a while, but I think overall it has been positive. But I think a majority of the games that we've played, first half of games has been my big disappointment. But looking at Ukraine the other night and looking at maybe this window, Colm, look at how we started the game. And it's simplistic. It's simple to say, but we've actually rolled the ball back to Nathan Collins or Shane Duffy, whoever it was. We've gone long, played in their half to start the game. It gets the crowd up. We're always going to play a different style of football as it is. When the ball is circulated, I think we won a corner in the first couple of minutes against Ukraine, got the team right on the front foot. I think we had a foul early on. We ended up getting the good attacks down the right-hand side. It's positive starts. I don't think we saw that early on from Stephen Kenny. And watching the team play early on, that was a disappointing thing from my point of view was, look, we are going to see a different style of football, but where is that little bit of bite in the tackles? Where is it going to come from? And I'd look primarily really at someone like Jason Malumbi. I don't think he's been amazing in the last couple of games. I think he's played well, but look at him in the Scotland game, biting into tackles, really ferocious, getting around the pitch and covering the ground really well, which he does. I think early on when he first got into the team, and I have total sympathy with this because I did exactly the same when I first came as a young player. You feel, though, maybe you try and do something different. You try and adapt your game a little bit. And I think he felt as though, I felt watching Malumbi, he had to be on the ball more, had to, you know, get it and make things tick over. That's, in my opinion, that's maybe Josh Cullen's job behind him. You can see they clearly have a good relationship. And it's almost as if Malumbi's best game is when the old adage of earn the right to play, go and put your foot in, be aggressive. And he has that in abundance. And I think when he does that, he can then let the rest of his game take shape off the back of it. And that's been the standout thing, I feel, maybe in the last 6 or 8, take the Armenia and Ukraine game out. I think it's been more aggressive without the ball. And if I look across maybe his reign, our best performances, even the Scotland game, even Ukraine the other night, a majority of the best performance we've had less of the ball, which is quite surprising when you look at the performances we've had. And even Ukraine the other night, I think we only had about 40% possession, but we were their equal. We were Ukraine's equal in the final third with our threat. That was certainly the case against Scotland. We were way more of a threat than Scotland. And I won't have people saying to me Scotland were that bad that helped us play well, which I can take your argument. They were bad, but how many times have we played against sides that haven't been great and we've just kind of played to their level? We had to raise that level and we haven't seen that enough. And that was great to see, particularly with it being at home, with the response that was needed after the Ukraine game.
All right, everyone's been asked, so I have to ask you. Nathan Collins, Michael Obafemi, or Troy Parrish, your favourite goal of this window?
Rank them, folks. Rank them.
Better again, power rankings, 3 to 1.
No, do you know what? I before I start here, I messaged Nathan earlier on. We've got amazing coverage here now in Canada with the Zone have picked up the Nations League rights, and I was always scratching around trying to get an Ireland game over the last year or two, trying to, as you well know yourself, Colm, Adrian, you're trying to get dodgy feeds to try to watch a game, and then you try, and if you miss a game or miss certain parts of the game, it's difficult to watch back. But we have amazing coverage here now. But last night I flicked the Zone on here and they have a top 10 of this current Nation League window, top 10 goals. And surprisingly, honestly, Nathan Collins is in at 4. He's the 4th best goal. Obafemi was at 6. There were some goals that were in there. Like Troy Parrott wasn't even in the top 10. And
No.
they had Erling Haaland's goal against I think it was Sweden. I think it was the ball across the 6-yard box, and it was a tap in. Like it was. However, they want to get the big names in, obviously, but I wasn't having it. But in answer to your question, in what order? Well, Nathan Collins' goal, it's so unique, isn't it? I think they've said that. I think Obafemi's was as well. But I mean, judging watching Ireland over the years, they're all unique goals. I have to say that. But Collins is special, isn't it? Given that he's a defender, stepping in. And I heard your analysis yesterday when you were talking with Johnny on or the other day, Colm, and there was very few options for him to do what he actually did. So it was very instinctive. He got a little bit of luck with the bobble. He could have gone with his left foot, but he really had to go with his right foot to finish it. So everything kind of took place. So I think it was a special goal. Obafemi's, I think, honestly, could have gone into roll Z. And if it had gone in roll Z, it was a hit. It was a hit and hope almost. You know, there was a lot of feel to it, and it was a great goal, don't get me wrong. But I'd have to go with Collins. And number 2, I'd probably have to say Parrott and Obafemi 3. That's what I would say.
It's a sound ranking. You've got 2 minutes before you have to go on to your next media appointment. So there's one thing that I want to ask before we go, which is this narrative that's taken on about the Duffy versus Collins bit, right? So forgetting about the goal for a second, and whether having Collins in the team can shape and change the shape of the team and the mindset of the team and the tactics of the team in terms of not having to play as deep to cope with the lack of pace from Duffy. Your thoughts on that?
I think Shane Duffy is going to be under a bit of pressure now, more pressure than probably we all thought. We know his threat from set pieces. We know that he carries that for us. I haven't really seen it enough from Nathan Collins, whether he can carry the same sort of threat. But Collins' all-round game over the 4 games, it was incredible to watch his development. I spoke earlier on, even saying to you before about the Armenia game. I felt his distribution from back to front was so good in that Armenia game in the first 20 minutes. You know, even his long pass, his short passing, so good. I think his reading of the game, as we saw, for stepping in the goal that he scored. We've clearly seen that Collins can play right side of the 3 centre halves, but is he going to get Coleman in? Is he going to get Omobamidele when he's fit back in there? Because Doherty is clearly going to start at right wing back. He's our best player in that position and has to start there, unless you can put Doherty at left wing back, which he's probably still causing a few problems for us. McLean was brilliant against Scotland. I thought absolutely brilliant. It was exactly what was needed, but that's a problem position for us. I'm sorry to go off on a tangent here, Adrian, but I think Duffy's under pressure now. I do think he's under a bit of pressure because I think Collins, in my opinion, if I'm looking at world players like him, you know, I looked at Matthijs de Ligt and look at those 2 similar ages. De Ligt gets a 100 million move to Juventus from Ajax, and there's very little when you're looking at them. I know de Ligt has got more experience, and people laugh at you when you say things like this, but he's very much like de Ligt in how he plays. Very aggressive at times when need be. Maybe could be more aggressive, and I think that's the case with de Ligt as well. But he's so good on the ball that you see him dropping off and he makes things look very easy. And I'm listening to some of the guys of the day comparing him with Van Dijk. But if he continues like this, we know he potentially could be an all-time great. You know, he's got the pace of Richard Dunn. Richard Dunn was absolutely the best defender I played with alongside throughout my career. And, you know, if he goes on to do half what Richard Dunn has done, then we've got a real prospect on our hands. Yeah, we have.
I'll be expecting those worldies every week. We'll take them when they're there. Kev, good man, you've a busy schedule. Thanks a million.
Yeah, can I just talk to you about the goal though as well? I want to just say one thing before I go. About, I think James McLean's got a bit of criticism for that goal against Ukraine. And I think you'd messaged me earlier on to say that David Conley had given Nathan Collins criticism for the goal as well. And I've got sympathy with both, I have to say that. Simply because if you look at Darragh Lenihan when he picks up the ball, when we're in possession and he goes long, there's probably an option for Lenihan to go back towards Collins, who dropped off to receive the pass from Lenihan, and also another option maybe to go inside to, I think it was Cullen, who then could have switched it out to McLean. So McLean's anticipating that. When the ball's given away, McLean actually makes up the ground to get back, but just doesn't get back far enough. And I've played in that position, and it always is, Adrian, about cat and mouse. Can you influence what the opposition's going to do? Can you play the wrong side of him and force him back? And Yarmolenko, realistically, that's not his game. He is quite lazy at times, and he would always play up. So McLean got caught out because of that, and I had sympathy for him. But I don't buy the fact is that Collins could have done more, because I think he was looking to receive the pass, and say if you freeze frame at times, the game does look different. But I think he had too much to do, and I think it was good play, and it was a good, well-worked goal by Ukraine in the end, really.
Yeah, we'll look forward to tracking his progress over the next while. Kev, good man. Thanks a million.
Thanks, Adrian. Thanks, Colm.